Comic books allow us to suspend our knowledge of reality so that we can have fun stories where basically anything can happen. Some Marvel heroes have great explanations for how their powers work, some do not, and that's what we are talking about today. Now we're starting off this list a little weird and talking about Hawkeye. Clint Barton is essentially just a regular human man, but despite that, he's considered a power level 4 according to Nick Fury's intel. This is due to his incredible level of skill and ability. Hawkeye is a master of archery in the use of regular bows, longbows, compound bows, and crossbows, with basically perfect accuracy, able to fire multiple arrows at a single target in a few seconds, hitting multiple targets in a few quick strokes, and directly hitting small targets in the greatest of distances, but he also has near perfect precision with any aimed or thrown weapon. He is at the peak level of human eyesight possible. He is in peak athletic human condition with peak strength, endurance, and reflexes. He is an expert acrobat, tactician, and master martial artist. And it's seemingly all from just practice and training really hard. To show you how ridiculous this is, in Avengers Volume 3 number 14, Hawkeye was cornered by about 17 marksmen and he took them all down without taking a single life. In Hawkeye Volume 4 number 1, Clint ran into a wanted criminal in a bar and he took him down completely silently by, get this, fracturing his neck with a deck of cards. And last but not least, you know that Winter Soldier scene from the MCU with Captain America taking out all those dudes in an elevator? Hawkeye did the same thing in Volume 2 number 3 of his own comic, and that was way before Cap, who is a super soldier, I will remind you, got the credit. The mutant and original X-Man, Forget-Me-Not, might be a case of people judging a book by its cover, because he doesn't really look too menacing if we're being honest. And to be fair, his powers do also sound pretty lame at face value. Basically, this mutant can't be remembered by anyone, and sometimes anything he meets as soon as he's out of sight. And as sad as this must be for him in his personal life, Forget-Me-Not can use this power to his advantage in huge ways in the right circumstances. In one case, he's even able to dupe all of X-Force when the team has to form an elaborate plan just to track him down. They're only able to finally catch him by having Dr. Nemesis record himself explaining to the team the existence of Forget-Me-Not as they search for him. The only caveat to this whole tedious process is that the maintenance bots, along with, I'm assuming, any computer automated system, can actually remember Forget-Me-Not if it doesn't get glitched out, which sort of weakens the potential of his powers. But again, don't be fooled. You know when the X-Men seem to just miraculously figure out a secret or a previously unknown way to defeat an almost unbeatable opponent? 90% of the time, that's just Forget-Me-Not, and the X-Men just forget him but not the information that he gives to them. Now, Nina Thurman is a mutant weapons expert and mercenary under the name Domino. She was introduced in the early 90s as a member of X-Force. Now, Domino is the survivor of a bunch of unethical scientists who are trying to create the perfect weapon. It's the tale as old as time, really, but this means Domino has all the talents and skills you would expect of an expert mercenary or secret agent. But we're here to talk about powers, and Domino's are unique to say the least. Domino has probability manipulation powers, meaning she's almost always lucky. She exudes at all times a subconsciously activated field that alters the probability of occurrences in her line of sight into her favor. This means that whenever she is stressed, excited, or focused on something, things will probably go well for her, and quite poorly for her opponents. Now, there is a caveat to this. She needs to actively be trying to help herself for her powers to work. So, like, if debris is falling from the sky and was about to hit her in the head, she would still be hurt if she stood still. However, if she tried to avoid them, she would move perfectly to avoid each and every piece about to hit her. Now, the full potential of Domino's abilities hasn't actually been fully realized as of yet, and Marvel has a knack for updating powers whenever they want, but with an ability to be lucky, there's only a finite amount of things you cannot do. Now, while the powers of Domino are still fresh in your minds, this is a perfect opportunity to talk about Isca the Unbeaten. Isca also has a form of limited psychokinesis, which is probability manipulation, or known as the power of luck, which is probably one of the most unexplainable powers because we can't even really say that luck is for sure a real thing. But Isca takes it one step further than Domino into ridiculousness with the power of being literally unable to lose. Isca has the power to always win, no matter what. Whether that is in individual one-on-one contests, votes, wagers, or even just larger battles where she's a member of a group. In contests of skill, her powers might give her the talent she needs to win, or she might just win through improbable circumstances, quote unquote. In larger battles or even wars, her powers detect the probability of both sides winning and have literally led her to defect from the losing side and join the winning side, meaning she still personally wins. It's not that we don't necessarily understand it. I mean, I don't understand it. It's just that it can't even properly be explained without sounding just ridiculous. I love her though. I love that character. Next up, the Inhuman known as Reader has a very fitting name, as he possesses the really cool ability to make whatever he reads actually real, which if you think about it should be practically impossible and is also a truly incredible power. Reader is a part of a group of Atalan Inhumans who live on Earth that call themselves the Lore. Now, because of Reader's potentially immense power, the people of the Lore tribe took his eyes out, making him unable to actually read things. On top of this, Reader has mental blocks in place that stop him from accidentally rewriting reality by reading the wrong things. Now, how does he still read with no eyes? The same way blind people do. Braille. Reader carries around Braille cards that have single words on them that allow him to do different things in combat and in given situations. For example, he has a card that says see in Braille that, when read, allows him to see through the eyes of other people. Or the back and freeze cards, which allow him to go back in time or pause time respectively. He basically has reality warping powers, but he does have a weakness in the form of only being able to use 3 words a day that gradually become less and less powerful, which is quite the nerf, but it also makes the whole this makes no sense thing even stronger. Christina Anderson has an ability that quite a few characters in comic books have. That would be the ability to shrink. Thumbalina can reduce herself down to about 1/4 of an inch tall. Now that ability is perfectly fine in my eyes. Like I said, lots of characters can do this. My problem with Thumbalina, and also some other shrinkers, is how the heck do they retain their full size strength when they get smaller? Or, in Thumbalina's case, how does she get stronger when she shrinks? I'm sorry to try and bring physics into any debate about superheroes and their various powers, but it makes absolutely no sense in the laws of physics that someone who is smaller can be more strong than when they were the regular size. Ants, for example, if they were the size of a person, they would be insanely strong, as they are able to carry 20 times their body weight. So that's like an average human being able to carry a small SUV. But since ants are so small, that means they can carry like a leaf. Thumbalina should not be able to knock someone out when she is 1/4 of an inch tall. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't make sense. Speaking of which, Robbie Rodriguez, who goes by El Guapo, is a mutant from the Marvel Universe, but that kind of opens up a whole bunch of questions, because Robbie doesn't seem to have any powers of his own, unless you consider his symbiotic relationship with a flying skateboard a superpower. His wiki page refers to this as idiosyncratic manipulation, suggesting that Robbie actually has total control over his skateboard, but the problem with that is that his skateboard has also acted of its own accord, like when it beat him up for cheating on his girlfriend. Now, an argument could be made that perhaps that's his own subconscious beating himself up for doing the wrong thing, but that's just a me theory, and Marvel did not state this to be true at all, or really even explain his ability in any way, shape, or form. It's not telekinesis, and the board seems to have a mind of its own. You explain it to me, because I can't. Adam Narimani, or Adam X, was a genetically created hybrid of both Emperor Deken of the Shi'ar Empire and Catherine Summers from Earth, created in an attempt to introduce more genealogies to the Shi'ar Empire. Now, just as his origin is unique, so are his powers. Adam has the ability of electrokinetic hemopyrokinesis, or if you don't want to have a stroke, you can say sanguine combustion, which also sounds super cool. It basically means that he can send an electric surge through oxygenated blood, which leads to ignition of the electrolytes present in the blood, causing a person to burn from the inside out, which could result in a little subtle warming effect, which is lovely, or it could completely disintegrate a person, so there's a lot of wiggle room here. But thanks to his Shi'ar side of things, he also has enhanced strength, agility, reflexes, stamina, speed, vision, and healing. You couple all that with his awesome fighting skill and the cool cybernetic retractable claws, and he's just someone you don't want to mess with, but also, he can set fire to your blood. In our runner-up spot today, Chamber, or Jonathan Evans Starsmore, discovered his powers when a blast of psionic energy just literally burst from his torso and destroyed much of his chest and face. It turns out that Chamber is literally composed of that same psionic energy, with his body just acting as a shell for it. When his powers burst out of him, the wound was replaced by a constant glow of psionic fire, leaving him unable to speak. Instead, he can only communicate telepathically. Additionally, he doesn't eat, drink, or even breathe, as he has literally no organs. It's just energy inside of him all the time. Chamber constantly created and unleashed psionic charges of energy that could strike with volatile force, being projected as a blast from his chest, a series of guided streams that struck specific targets, or as a massive eruption striking in all directions. If he was given the time to train properly, Chamber could have potentially been one of the most powerful mutants to walk the earth, but his powers make no sense. Okay, so many Inhumans have incredibly unique and awesome powers. Only Karnak's ability isn't so much a superpower as it is a learned skill, kind of like Hawkeye. Karnak never went through the process of Terrigenesis, which would have activated his Inhuman gene and given him actual powers. Since he never went through this process, he has all the enhancements of a regular Inhuman, including super strength, speed, stamina, and durability. But unlike other Inhumans, Karnak has trained himself to be an extremely powerful martial artist, and beyond that, he developed an incredibly powerful trait of being able to sense weak points, fracture planes, and stress points in enemies, objects, plans, arguments, and anything really, including concepts. Obviously, in combat, he can use this alongside his martial skills to defeat opponents even more quickly, but the applications outside of combat are incredibly useful as well. For an example, just one example, because that's really all I need, he found a weakness in death itself and was able to bring himself back to life, which you just win at that point, man. You're just done. And that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching here on Top 10 Nerd today. I'm Adam Andrews. I'll catch you all in the flippy flop. Stay safe, and peace out, you nerds.